NCTV45, The Train, anytime on your time. The Cedars is a great restaurant with outstanding Mediterranean food. The Cedars takeout menu is second to none, featuring pizza, stromboli, hoagies, their famous lamb on the rod, and so much more. So when you're hungry and you want that Newcastle taste, make it Cedars. Now with 2 locations in Newcastle, 827 Addis Street on the east side and 1101 Highland Avenue. Call Cedars East 724-658-9260 or Cedars North 724-652-7657. RNA Screen Printing Newcastle is the place to go for signs, shirts, hats, vinyl lettering, embroidery, magnets, vehicle lettering, banners, window decals, and they can put your design on many items. They have decals for vehicles and signs for all your advertising needs. Great selection of sizes and styles of regular or glitter t-shirts. RNA can iron on a logo while you wait and can do any school logo. RNA Screen Printing, 1217 Moravia Street, Newcastle, open Monday through Friday 9 to 4. Call 724-652-2241.
The Beanery Depot and Deli. Coffee, made-to-order subs, snacks, and more. Meatball sandwiches, fresh and hot. Pepperoni rolls, fish sandwiches, chicken, milkshakes. The Beanery Deli. When you're hungry for something special, and it won't cost you a lot of beans.
Welcome back to the Cedars Sports Quarter, ladies and gentlemen, here on NCTV45 and NC Radio 450. I'm James Dotson, alongside Alex. The Pit just lost to Duquesne to Laverson.
2 weeks in a row.
We're gonna save this frustration for another part of the segment, because if I get wound up now, it's gonna ruin me for the rest of the show.
Not a bad idea. So let's start with the bread and butter here at NCTV45. Us, the Fantasy Football Toolkit, would love to give you some information as we are now heading into, it's either the last week of your regular season in fantasy football or the first week of the playoffs coming up in, probably 99 leagues out of 100. You're in one of those scenarios, so the lineups are important right now, and then obviously if you're in the playoffs for the next couple of weeks. So let's talk strategy first, Alex. How do you decipher picking somebody up who may have a good week now versus maybe using a waiver wire pick to get somebody who I might be using in the next couple of weeks come like semifinals and championship time?
See, I don't go that route because you can't, guarantee that you're even going to get to that point. This is sudden death. This is 1 week, you're out, and that's it. Unless you're in those leagues where they average points from 2 games. That's really not the majority of leagues, though. But bottom line, this is probably a week where I don't take any risk. I go with the guys that got me there. So unless there's really a surefire free agent pickup that is someone that you really can't say no to, maybe an Adrian Peterson coming back from injury, then I don't really make any moves. Now, if you're maybe the last seed, maybe if you're in a larger playoff pool, and you're going up against the highest seed in the league, you're severely underdog, then yeah, I'm going to take that risk.
Right.
But if you're in the top part of your playoff standings, I'm not making really any changes unless I have to.
Well, and this is the one I've heard a couple times already this week. A guy like Dante Moncrief, for example. He's a boom or bust player like anybody on the Colts offense, and frankly, like any skill player on the Saints offense too. Those are guys that, if I'm the 7 or 8 seed, I'm playing them and hoping for the boom week. But if I'm one of the top seeds, they're nowhere near my radar. I'm not touching them with a 10-foot pole. I'm playing the more consistent guys. Same thing as we're talking about the Colts. Dwayne Allen, I know he had 2 touchdowns last week. That's a fluke. Another tight end, Dennis Pitta, had his first touchdown, actually 2 touchdowns, first touchdown since 2013. Don't expect that to continue. Don't trust guys like that. Trust guys who have done it consistently. Ladarius Green actually is one I think is not a fluke. Ladarius Green, you really like coming back.
I really like him, but it's, Green had that weird portion of the season where I'm retired, am I coming in, blah, 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 you know. When he's in games, I think he does really well. I mean, last week, 6 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Keep in mind, this is a guy who's following the footsteps of Heath Miller, although I do think Green is more of a pass-catching, scoring threat. Not to say Miller wasn't. He was more of the end zone type. But, you know, I think Green is a really valuable weapon for Ben Roethlisberger, especially when Roethlisberger gets out of the pocket.
And I'm upset that I didn't go and get Ladarius Green after he played last week. He had only 3 catches, I think it was the previous week, but he had 8 or 9 targets. And I should have gone for it. I should have planned ahead, and now that I'm not, I'm fighting for him on the waiver wire, and I'm not winning very many of them. So that's where I'm saying planning ahead can end up being a good thing. Here's something to look at planning for this week and next week, especially if you're in tight end need of help. If you had Gronkowski, if you had Martellus Bennett, if you had Jordan Reed, you're going to need some help right now. Vernon Davis is the epitome of consistency. Last 7 games that he's played, 6 of them have been where Jordan Reed was not in the lineup or got injured very early in the game. In those 6 games, he's averaging 9 points. No, it's not, a huge number, but the lowest he ever got was 5. The most he ever got was 12. That's some pretty good consistency that I'm going to go after any chance that I can get.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're weak at tight end, or if you need to fill one of your flex spots if you need to fill one of your flex spots, that's either, the running back, wide receiver, or tight end, that'd be a decent pickup.
Now, let me give you another name of one that I'm not playing this week, but I'm probably going to pick up for future playoff weeks. Denard Robinson. Last 2 weeks, 13 carries for 39 yards. 17 carries for 53 yards. It's not impressive numbers, but I'm not looking at the yards right now. I'm looking at the volume of the carries he's getting. 15 carries per game over the last 2 weeks. That's got to be something I got to at least look at, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, obviously, he's got an ankle injury, so keep an eye on him. But I think, again, that's somebody who I'm going to have right now in my lineup, or not in my lineup, but on my roster, because I can see him getting those 20, 25 carry weeks, especially if you go all the way to week 17. We always seem to get a guy like Robinson who will go and all of a sudden be a huge play at the end. So those are the guys to watch for. A couple minutes left. I want to mention a couple other names that I want to get your opinion on. Malcolm Mitchell. How about what he's done in New England? And with Amendola out now, he should be even better, right?
The Patriots always get viewed as that machine, that system. One part of the machine doesn't work, you just plug in another part. And Amendola is going to be out this week, if I'm correct.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2 weeks. And Mitchell played, 85% of the snaps last week. So just kind of by default, he's going to be getting his fair share of targets.
Double digits last week.
Yeah, when Gronkowski's out too, it's not like they're, have a plethora of weapons going for them. I know Dion Lewis can be a threat out of the backfield, but he's really not, a consistent. He's just not a consistent player.
And he's a guy who I want to get rid of, actually. Another running back I want to get rid of is Tim Hightower. Hightower only had 3 touches last week. Dion Lewis was out-snapped and out-touched big time by James White. I think both those guys, I can't play them at all right now. In fact, I'm probably debating dropping Dion Lewis at this point.
We talked about Tyreek Hill last week, too. And I'm still going with them. I think even just the long run in general, Tyreek Hill is going to be...
Even with Macklin coming back, that's the only issue that people have.
I think so. I'm not saying he's going to be a wide receiver number 2 or maybe even wide receiver number 3, but, you're thin at your flex spots. I think it'll get you solid production.
And how about this as we wrap things up here? The Thursday night game could be one of the best Thursday night games that we've seen in the past 5 years, and it's Oakland versus Kansas City.
And I'm glad Oakland's good. The NFL is better when their storied franchises are good. The Cowboys are good, and the Raiders are good. And the NFL is I just feel like it's just better in general. It's like welcome back to those 2 franchises. But in terms of any fantasy players sticking out from those 2 teams, other than the obvious,
I have one in big time.
Excuse me, and the Steelers are good.
They're not in the playoffs. They're not good right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
we're not going there.
They're always good, though. We're talking about teams that haven't been good. I mean, the
recently.
Raiders, 2002. The last time they made the playoffs.
But before we cut it up, I got to say, it's David Carr finally getting a chance on national television on primetime. He and his receivers are going to be awesome against Kansas City. Write it down. You heard it here first. From, not the Saint, that's him, from the Value Man. There's great value in David Carr this week. Go start him. We got more fantasy info and college football talk when we come back.
Come to
Cedars
Big
Sports Corner.
Polly's Sports Bar in Newcastle.
The place is spacious with all the seating you'll need, with 2 bars and a huge menu that features wings, pizza, sandwiches, burgers, pasta, and fries.
Big Polly's
Is just right to watch the game. You'll love the sports memorabilia throughout the bar. There's plenty of parking too.
Big Polly's Sports Bar.
In Newcastle at 207 East Long Avenue. Call 724-658-8800. That's 658-8800. Gentlemen, if you want to look your best with high-quality clothing, then I recommend Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors in downtown Newcastle. Mike Caggiano is the owner, and he and his staff have been in the business for decades, and they will always give you the right recommendations. They also carry Rondinelli tuxedos. That's Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors, 210 East Washington Street, downtown Newcastle. Call 724-652-3851.
Welcome back to the Cedars Sports Corner on NCTV45, the fantasy toolkit coming at you. So we're going to talk a little bit more fantasy football, and then we're going to get into a very emotional part of the segment. I think emotional for you and me, because we're going to be talking Penn State getting snubbed in the Final Four.
I have a feeling I'm going to be more calm than you are.
I'm not happy about it. And we're going to talk about Pitt's loss to Duquesne. But
Last thing I want to mention with fantasy, and we'll get this quick because we got lots to talk about. Anquan Bolden is somebody who's a plug-and-play as a flex, with Ebron possibly out. Marvin Jones maybe still possibly out. He was out last week. Bolden just gets it done. He's 95 million years old, but he still gets it done. He's somebody who I want to go for. 3 wide receivers who you need to stay away from, even though they're very tempting. Taylor Gabriel had the 2 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. I told you stay away. He had 5 catches for 44 yards. Nothing. Up and down. You don't know what to expect. Dontrell Inman has double-digit points the last 2 weeks. But guess what? One of them was a late touchdown in garbage time. Nothing. And Marcus Wilson, after his 8 touch and 125-yard and a touchdown performance, goose eggs last week. I know it was because of an injury. I can't trust, especially coming off an injury. So those are 3 guys that I definitely want to sell, to say the very least.
and there you have it.
And now the fun begins. Let's first start. The playoffs are set. You got the top 4 teams are Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Washington. So it's Bama against Washington, Clemson against Ohio State as the top 4. Penn State, even with the Big Ten Conference Championship and defeating Ohio State, is left out at number 5. Take it away.
Is Ohio State a better team than Penn State?
According to 99% of college football experts, yes.
Okay. Why? Penn State beat them.
Because they only have 1 loss and Penn State has 2.
All right, and who did Penn State lose to?
They lost to Michigan, who was number 6, and they lost to Pitt, who also beat Clemson in the top 4.
And were they on the road or were they home?
Those were both road games.
And were they at the beginning of the year?
Beginning of the year with much injured Nittany Lions, especially the Michigan game. They had like 5 of their starters on defense out.
And did Penn State win the best league in all of college football?
The best division and the best conference in all of college football. Yes, they did.
They beat the number 6 team in the Big Ten title game, the best division conference all of football, and they're not in. Mm-hmm. But Ohio State, who Penn State beat, is in the Final Four.
Because that was Ohio State's only loss.
But, I mean, like, come on. What weighs more? You know, you're weighing it, Ohio State 1 loss. Mm-hmm. Penn State has 2 losses, but the Ohio State's 1 loss was to Penn State.
See, here, I think you're barking up the wrong tree. You're going after the wrong team. There are 2 other teams in that top 4 who I think have no business being there whatsoever. First one is Washington. And here's the main comparison I have with Washington. They had 1 loss to USC. They won the Pac-12. They won the Pac-12 championship very decisively. If that didn't happen, I don't think they're in. Because their strength of schedule, awful doesn't even begin to describe it. They played Portland State That was one of their games this year. They only had one loss. They're a conference champion. They made it in. Penn State with that second loss, that was just enough to bump them down low. I'm still more mad about the team who's ranked number 2 in the country right now, though, Alex. Clemson is a joke of a team. I'm sorry. The only reason that they're in there is because they think that their offense is the only offense that can put up points against Alabama in the entire country. Guess what? Their defense can't stop anybody, and they've won 5 very, very, very close, bad games against bad teams. They're not a team. I mean, you want to talk about the eye test. Clemson is a team that belongs nowhere near that top echelon. They lost 1 game at home to Pitt, and again, all those close other games. There's a team that by the eye test doesn't impress me at all, and they haven't all year long.
I think what we're seeing here is more of the committee selecting brands almost better than a body of work.
Let me stop you right there with that. If the tables were turned, Penn State was the 3 seed where Ohio State is right now, and Ohio State had just won the Big Ten championship. Does Ohio State get in over Washington?
So if you're saying if Ohio State...
Pretty much take the resumes where they are right now, but change the jerseys, change the names.
So Ohio State has 2 losses. They win the Big Ten.
Yes.
I think Ohio State still gets in over them.
That's it.
Ohio, because they're Ohio State. They have, I think, the second biggest following in all of college football. Or they're in the top. They're right there.
But that was the question that was posed on one of the big shows, and it was the most telling right there. That you changed the 2 team names, and now you're saying that because of that, the team is in is different. That's complete garbage, if you ask me. So that was thing number 1 that bothered me. Thing number 2 that bothered me, somebody asked, what if instead of playing Pitt, Penn State had played Portland State and obviously won? Would Penn State be in?
I wouldn't put it past the committee. Although, it's sad. I would say a loss to Pitt by 3 points on the road is
and especially coming back the way they did.
Yeah. And they were injured too. Is that more impressive than a win over Portland State, or is it apple and oranges? Realistically,
right.
I mean, come on. I get the whole win's a win thing, but it's like they don't want to put a 2-win team in there.
You don't want a 2-loss team in there. Is what it's turned down to, and the question really becomes what is prioritized amongst the committee, and everything they've heard was strength of schedule and winning a conference championship. Penn State had the strength of schedule over Washington. Washington makes it in. Ohio State does not have the conference championship Penn State does, but Ohio State made it in. You know what? Again, I don't have a problem because I can make a case for any of the 4 teams above them. I really can. But at the same time, when you're told what to do and then you don't get in the tournament, if I was an AD, I would be scheduling as many cupcake games as possible.
That's what I'm saying.
Because all you have to do is go 1 loss and win your conference championship, you're in.
Well, that's why people get turned off by college football. It's the same teams every year. It's the same thing. People were hoping that this Final Four would change things. I don't know if it really changed it too much, but, come on.
Yeah. I will say this. At the same time, if Penn State had made it in, they'd be the 4 seed. They'd play Alabama, and I'm sorry, they would probably lose.
You don't know that.
You don't know that. I do say you do not know that. Here's what I do know. The absolute best game of the entire bowl season is now going to be happening in Pasadena. The two best teams right now, Penn State and USC. USC lost 3 of their first 4. They haven't lost since. Penn State lost 2 of their first 4. They haven't lost since. That's going to be the best game on January 2nd.
I'm not happy. I mean, I don't know what else I could tell you.
Would this make you happier? Here, we go to 8 teams, okay? Alabama plays the 8 seed, Western Michigan, the undefeated team. The best group of 5 team needs to make it. The 4-5 is Washington, Penn State. That'd be beautiful. The 2 seed Clemson would play either 7 USC or Michigan if you allow 3 teams from the same conference. And the 3-6 matchup would be Ohio State versus Oklahoma.
God, and that makes too much sense for it to actually happen.
You said it right there.
I mean, that's really it.
It makes too much sense. And what else makes too much sense is that these segments end up coming too short. We'll be back in a moment here in the Cedars Sports Corner.
If you want to score big, then get over to Shenango Auto Mall. George Fiacco, General Sales Manager, and his experienced staff will be glad to talk to you about all the amazing used car deals from their huge inventory. Lifetime powertrain warranties, extended warranties, and guaranteed credit approval. They have a body shop and full detail shop. It's not your normal used car lot. They also buy cars, trucks, and SUVs. Shenango Auto Mall is located at 2515 Elwood Road in Shenango Township. Call 724-698-7304.
The Branding Iron Bar and Grill, a great place to gather.
Some examples from the menu: 45-cent jumbo wings with 30 different kinds of sauce, meatball sub and fries, $5.50, hot cheese balls and burgers, and delicious large sandwiches. Stop in during happy hour, 4:30 to 7:30. You can dine in or take out. The Branding Iron Bar and Grill is located at 2221 Ben Franklin Highway, Edinburgh. Call 724-658-1210.
Welcome back to the Cedars Sports Corner, NCTV45 and NC Radio 450. He's Alex DeLaverson. I'm James Dotson. Big thanks to Angela Parada doing all the dials for us back there. And we'd be remiss not to give a big shout out to all veterans and all current military members. This is the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor today, and just a really special day that it is a date that will live in infamy, and we want to make sure that we never forget about it. And with that, a special thanks to all of our military men and women out there, and hopefully you will all be home for the holidays, and if not, you certainly will be home in spirit all over. We love the red, white, and blue, and even more than the red, white, and blue, how about the red and blue?
You know, it's been 2 weeks in a row.
You know,
And I can't feel any better.
you know, Angela, the thing I think that upsets me the most is when players put their own self-interest ahead of the teams. Now, Jamil Artis, or I can't even pronounce his name, Artis, got suspended for one game by Coach Stallings for team disciplinary reasons. Usually, I think that's along the lines of either missing a practice or
late to practice, repeated times being late, or anything like that.
Yeah, and you know, it's good he's holding players accountable, so I can't get on Coach Stallings for that. But if Jamil Artis is in that game, I don't think Pitt loses. But regardless, he wasn't in the game, and Pitt did lose.
But that's it right there.
And the trophy is on the bluff.
It is. But that's it right there, that the coach needs to send a message so the other players go and get on this guy and say, look, you do that again. Look, you're killing us now, dude.
Now here's the thing, though. In a way, I feel like this is good for Pitt basketball because now you really created a rivalry. The last time Duquesne beat Pitt was in 2000 when Pitt basketball, was in the gutter. So now,
So you're saying Pitt basketball's in the gutter?
Maybe. But the bottom line is it really brought the city rivalry game to life now, and I'm looking forward to it. And people are so ready to write Kevin Stallings off and Pitt off. It was just a few days before that they beat Maryland on the road. Now, people are like, well, how could you lose at Duquesne and Pittsburgh? This is how, because it's college basketball.
Yes.
In college basketball, these things happen a lot, all the time. It's not even like, it's not as if in like college football, a 1AA school loses to YSU, and that was probably another bad example because Pitt did lose to YSU a few years ago, but it's not on the same level, okay? So this is not a doomsday scenario. Bottom line, Pitt got beat by Duquesne, and it's not the end of the world. So,
And the trophy is on the bluff.
I don't even. It's on the block.
Let me make a very interesting connection here that you just mentioned. Why do we like college basketball so much?
Because of stuff like this.
Because of upsets, right?
Yeah, because of upsets.
What do you get in the NCAA tournament?
Upsets.
Why? Because you give teams the chance. In the college football playoffs, how much is Washington beating Alabama really an upset? It's still 4 versus 1. That's not a big upset. Ohio State beating Clemson, Ohio State's probably going to be favored in that game. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay? If you even go to 8 teams and you give a team like Western Michigan a chance, or you give USC a chance, to beat the 1 or 2 seed. Now you got upsets. Now you got conversations. That's why we love college basketball, and that's why I'm starting to get fed up even more and more with college football. I don't think the playoff has helped. I think the playoff has hurt college football.
Yeah, I mean, you need to expand the playoffs. I mean, because there's going to be a drastic difference between 4 and 1. Probably not. But there's going to be a drastic difference between 8 and 1.
Absolutely.
But anyway, we could go on and about this. But either way, there is a topic that Dawson and I have actually talked about. I wouldn't say talked about. We argued about for years now. And I want to get Angelo, our producer Angelo's opinion on this.
Angelo, the answer is no, just so you're aware.
Okay. Well, let's see what he says. Angelo, is Eli Manning an elite quarterback?
No.
Thank you. How can you be elite if you have 2 good games in your entire career?
Okay.
Yes, the 2 good games, I will say this. 2 good games came in the biggest games of his career, in the Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl championship. 90% of his touchdowns are in garbage time. Go ahead and look it up. 80 to 90% of his touchdowns are in garbage time, including his one last week against the Steelers. He is not a clutch quarterback. He is not a good quarterback. The only thing that he has for him is that he has won 2 games.
I mean, I don't know if I would go. I agree that he's not elite. I used to think otherwise, but I'm not going to go and say he's not a good quarterback. I think you have to be somewhat good.
Yes, he is solid. He is solid. He's consistent, but he is not going to single-handedly win you games.
But does a quarterback need to really single-handedly win you games, though? At the bottom line, he might be a great quarterback for the Giants. Maybe not for anyone else in the league, but maybe
he's very good at completing passes to the other team.
He's also pretty good at winning Super Bowls. 2 Super Bowls against who?
New England and
who's their quarterback?
Tom Brady.
Is he the best quarterback in NFL history?
No.
Looks like it. Oh,
that's another debate. That's another debate for next week. I'm sure.
Debate.
We'll definitely dive into that one. You'll be surprised at my
I'm
answer.
actually really pleased how that happened. That's going to make for
that will be very fun.
Yeah.
But no, in the end, Eli to me is not an elite quarterback. I don't care if he's got 2 Super Bowls. I don't care who they came against. Even the games leading up to the playoffs, nothing. The only reason that the Giants were even good those 2 years was because they finally were getting on Tom Coughlin's hot seat.
I like the guy. I mean, but anyway, Tom Coughlin. I mean, here's it. When he's on the hot seat, what does he do? He wins the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay, but either way, we got on this topic because our compatriot Greg, the mad scientist Bashero.
He is mad.
Yeah, he is mad since he's the one who thinks he's elite. Anyway, so he has not been here lately, and he's been a busy guy. But he decided to stir the pot on social media a little bit. That's because that's what he does. Mm-hmm. So here we are talking about it. So it worked.
We want to hear your opinion. So please send us emails, send us a tweet. It's probably the easiest way. You're all twits out there. You nitwits on Twitter at 3SN Fantasy at 3S Network. Send us what you got, and we will love to hear your opinion. 30 seconds left, though, Alex, and I want to give a big shout-out again to a great season for Wilmington. They just ran into the Steel Curtain, the new Steel Curtain of Steel Valley. They are pretty much unbeatable. We'll see. They're in the state championship game against Southern Columbia. That's on Saturday. Beaver Falls against Middletown's another WPIL school. And Central Catholic against St. Joe's Prep. All those on Saturday. There's one game on Friday this week. Clairton against Bishop Guilfoyle, rematch of 2 years ago. So 4 of the 6 classifications featuring a WPIAL school.
Last thing I want to say is that Duquesne's going to win the rest of their games, win their conference tournament, and go to the March Madness tournament.
And that's when Angelo will wake up from his dreams. On that note, for Angelo Parada, he's Alex DeLavris, and I'm James Dotson. Thanks for tuning in on NCTV45, the Cedars Sports Corner.
This program furnished by Sporting Goods, 23 East Washington Street, Newcastle. Call 724-658-2535. Funding for this program provided by Washington Center Physical Therapy, Norm A. Gabriel, MSPT, ATC owner.